In this video, I'm going to be reviewing Matt Miller's book, Ditch That Textbook. If you're looking for some inspiration and specific strategies for how to become a more innovative, creative, future-focused educator, you're definitely going to want to check this book out. Matt Miller's first and most popular book offers educators a roadmap for how to break free from a textbook mentality and begin innovating in their classrooms. Written in plain-spoken English with folksy humor, anecdotes about real life, and pithy insights into the antiquated nature of our education system, Miller's book is primarily aimed at the tech neophyte. But there are plenty of nuggets to keep the more experienced tech educator engaged and interested. My name is Sam Kary, and this is my YouTube channel for the new EdTech classroom. I started this new YouTube series to do reviews of books that have influenced me as a teacher and have changed the way that I teach. You might be surprised to know that I was actually a pretty late adopter of education technology in my classroom. I've been teaching for 10 years, and it took me about 6 years to really start using innovative practices around technology. Along my journey as an educator, I've read a bunch of books about education, and a few of them have really transformed the way that I teach today. Ditch That Textbook is definitely one of those books. The author of the book, Matt Miller, spent over 10 years teaching Spanish in a suburb in Indiana, and then ended up publishing his first book, Ditch That Textbook. He's also the author of 2 additional books and another book that is forthcoming that I'll be taking a look at in some future videos. Today, Matt Miller is an education technology consultant. He speaks at all the major education technology conferences, and he also runs his blog, Ditch That Textbook, and has his own YouTube channel as well. According to my reading, there are 5 different takeaways from Ditch That Textbook. The first and most important theme is that textbook teaching is an antiquated mentality. One might be forgiven for approaching this book and thinking that it's just going to be chock full of different strategies for how to introduce more digital media and strategies for education technology integration in your classroom. In reality, Miller is making a much broader argument about teachers freeing themselves from what he calls pedestrian teaching practices and being more open to experimenting, innovating, taking risks, trying new technologies, all in service of being a more authentic, more effective teacher for students. The second major takeaway is that the best educators stay connected. Here, Miller argues that to be a really effective innovator in education, teachers should be reading other teacher blogs, reading books, participating actively on Twitter, all in the name of continually learning and growing. For Miller, staying connected also means following what's trending with students so that you can integrate some of those practices in your teaching. He uses the example of integrating Minecraft into education. Of course, the same could be applied to different social media sites, different video creation platforms like TikTok. The point is that we're continually updating and upgrading our practices, in part based on what is interesting and engaging to our students. Third major takeaway is that sharing is key. Whether it's students sharing what they've created with the outside world, or teachers sharing their ideas on Twitter and blogs and with other teachers that they know, Miller argues that content is meant to be shared. He feels pretty strongly that one of the most powerful ways that we can be using technology in the classroom is to expand our classroom walls and connect our students with other classrooms around the world, with other educators around the world, and basically utilize technology to expose students to the greater world around them. Similarly, he implores teachers to share their creations with the rest of the teaching world for the betterment of the profession and for the betterment of the education of our students. My fourth major takeaway from Ditch That Textbook is that in order to meet the evolving needs of our students, teachers need to be teaching with technology. Here, Miller argues that teachers who resist teaching with technology unintentionally perpetuate the fact that the world of education is increasingly isolated from the real world. In the real world, our students can find the answers to questions instantaneously in a device that fits in the palm of their hand. In the world of education, the teacher holds the keys to knowledge, and the student has to wait for the teachers to give them that information. He also argues that in the real world, students are recording information digitally all the time. But in the world of education, we're still asking them to carry around notebooks, pencils, papers, textbooks, you name it. He's careful not to say that teaching with technology will necessarily make you a more innovative or more effective teacher, but he argues that to neglect teaching with technology ignores the way that information is created and shared in today's world, and inadequately prepares students for the world in which they live and participate. My last major takeaway is that to be an innovative educator, you've got to be prepared to relinquish control. You can't be afraid to take risks, but at the same time, it's not realistic to try to transform every single thing overnight. Stepping away from the comfort and structure of textbook curriculum style teaching means stepping outside of our safety zones. Trying new things and putting students in the driver's seat can be scary. We're going to make mistakes. Things aren't going to go as planned. And Miller wants us to know that that's okay. He also wants to make sure teachers know that just because they're trying to innovate doesn't mean that they have to do everything overnight. Sometimes picking just 1 or 2 new strategies that you're going to focus on per year can be much more effective than trying to do a wholesale rewriting of your curriculum. That said, if you do want to go out and throw your entire curriculum in the trash and rewrite it from scratch, he's probably not going to begrudge you for that. Although Ditch That Textbook is primarily directed toward teachers who might know that they want to make a change but aren't quite sure how to take the plunge, teachers at all stages of technology integration can get something out of Miller's book. I've been inspired, for example, by Miller's insistence to go global with your classroom. I don't do nearly enough to connect my students with other classrooms and educators around the nation or around the world. And Miller's book definitely has inspired me to try to do that. Overall, Ditch That Textbook is a balanced blend between specific education technology integration strategies, along with a bigger argument that he's making about some changes that are needed in public education today. Underneath the easy to read language and folksy jokes, there's really a pretty radical message that underpins his book. The implication of the trash can and his logo on the book and on his website really goes beyond throwing out textbooks. It doesn't take a stretch of imagination to extend the trash can metaphor far beyond the old textbooks. In reality, Miller is questioning the entire old system of public education that's been codified by publishing companies, teacher preparation programs, credentialing requirements, teacher evaluations, standardized testing, and questioning whether or not we might consider throwing all of that into the trash can to come up with something totally new. Given the dramatic shifts he advocates for public education, it's remarkable that he's able to make this textbook ditching philosophy seem so obvious, easy, and inevitable. At times, I would have preferred Miller to stay a little bit more focused on his goal of jolting educators out of their complacence. The chapter about work-life balance, for example, didn't really seem for me to fit in with his overall argument. Minor issues aside, Ditch That Textbook is essential reading for any teacher looking for inspiration to dramatically shift their teaching practice, or for a reminder that the messy, imperfect, never-ending path toward becoming a more innovative, inspirational, and better teacher for students is a noble and worthy endeavor. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you found it useful, please hit the like button and share it with other teachers that you know, and consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my weekly education technology tutorials. Thanks and have a great week.